Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. My name's Stephanie and today we are going to be reviewing Cirque's new Scream Queen collection. So this is a 5-piece collection that consists of 4 glow-in-the-dark jelly polishes, and these 4 are actually limited edition, but there is a 5th polish a part of this set that's a glitter topper, and that is going to be permanent. So I definitely have some thoughts regarding this collection, but I will save that for the end. For now, let's just get into the swatches. The first shade we have is Paranormal Prom Queen, and this is a blushed rose tinted base that glows aqua in the dark. So formula-wise, this performed really well. I absolutely love that Cirque finally switched over to their wide paddle brushes, especially for jelly polishes. But yeah, this one was just really sheer. I feel like on the first coat, it barely gave a wash of color, and I know jelly nail polishes definitely tend to be more on the sheer side, but as you'll see with the rest of the swatches, I feel like these jellies in this collection are just a lot more sheer than the usual jellies we've seen from Cirque before. So here's what it looks like built up in 3 coats, and it's just not really giving me that much color as much as I wanted, honestly. And here it is in the dark after holding my finger right next to a light for about a minute, maybe a little bit more. I feel like it just isn't that strong, and it's not as aqua or bright as I was expecting it to be. So I ended up doing a 4th coat just to try and get a little bit closer to what you see in the bottle, but it's barely noticeable. The next shade we have is Final Girl, and this is a pumpkin orange tinted base that glows green in the dark. So this one pretty much performed the same as the others. I'll say the formula across the board is good, where they just apply evenly, very smoothly, and all of that. But yeah, I just did not like how this looked in 1 coat because, as you can see, my nails are stained and it just didn't really look that good in my opinion. 2 coats didn't really do much. You start to get a little bit more of that orange color. So because these jellies are just so sheer, I think they would look better over a milky base coat, or if you do like a sheer tinted color as your base first, just because you will see straight through your nail line, which again I know is a thing for jellies. But yeah, I just didn't love how this looked on me in 3 coats. The good news is that this one did have a bit of a stronger glow, but I just don't love the speckly kind of look with the specific glow-in-the-dark pigment that they use. And again, here's a little side-by-side of 3 coats and then a 4th coat because I was curious. So up next we have Ghoulfriend, and this is a candy apple green tinted base that glows green in the dark. So this is kind of like your classic slime green glow-in-the-dark kind of polish. So yeah, formula-wise, this one was also super sheer to the point that it just emphasized my staining, if anything, on the first coat alone. But on the second, you do start to get more of a hint of that green color, though I would say it leans a lot more chartreuse, likely because of my staining. Who knows? So on 3 coats, the color does build up a little bit more, but I just wish that it was more green or maybe just more opaque in general, because I feel like this just looks like really badly stained nails. I don't know, maybe it's just the color that I don't find super flattering. But yeah, here it is in the dark, and it basically has the same exact glow as the last shade. I kind of wish they went with a different color for one of these. I don't know why we needed 2 greens, but yeah, here is the side-by-side where 4 coats just doesn't really add that much to it. And the last jelly in the collection is BanShee Better Werk, and this is a blurple tinted base that glows a deep blue in the dark. So this one was interesting for me because I actually didn't mind it so much on the first coat. I feel like because of that blurple color, it almost acted like a neutralizer to counteract some of my staining. But I don't know if I just messed up with my application or something, but I noticed after doing the second coat that the color just looked very uneven. Like, you can see a lot more of that blurple color towards the bottom half of my nail and especially around my cuticle, but my tips look almost clear, like as if I still had one coat or it was like some kind of gradient effect or something. So unfortunately it didn't even out after doing 3 coats, even though I was trying to be a bit more careful with my application, and the unevenness was just driving me crazy. So I ended up doing a half coat and painting just the top half of my nail just so the color can even out. So that was a little annoying. I'm not sure, again, if that was just user error or what, but here it is in the dark. And even though this one I felt was like a little bit weak compared to the greens especially, it still had a noticeable blue color, which I thought was cool. And lastly, here it is with a 4th coat, which I do prefer compared to the look on 3 coats, but I don't think I can commit to doing 4 coats. And rounding out the collection, we have Hex Girl, and this is a chunky glitter topper with holographic celestial shapes and hexagons in various sizes, as well as a delicate holographic sparkle. So for this first swatch, I am just showing it over my bare nail and just applying it straight out of the bottle. I didn't even flip it over because I wanted to see how much fishing you would have to do, or if you even have to flip the bottle upside down. And I got a decent amount. I did have to actually dip back into the bottle after the first swipe alone because it just was very, very base heavy and I just didn't get a lot of glitters. So yeah, there's not much variety just like this. So I did end up flipping my bottle over for the next several swatches. So here over Paranormal Prom Queen, you can see on my brush right now, there's definitely a lot more glitters on the brush, so I didn't have to dip back in or fish necessarily, but I was kind of struggling with just getting the glitters on my nail. So yeah, I just don't think I love the really big hex glitters personally. I either wish there was less of them or maybe just that this wasn't so base heavy, but I think this has a really pretty subtle holographic sparkle running throughout, and I do love those celestial glitters, like there's stars and crescent moons and stuff, so that's cute. But yeah, I just don't think I'm the biggest fan of how this looks because it is so base heavy, and I didn't want to do a second coat because I just felt like it was already so thick and kind of like so many layers already, because it's the 3 coats of the jelly polish already plus a thick glitter topper coat, and then if I were to do another one on top of that, and not even mentioning top coat, it just felt like a lot. So I wanted to just keep it minimal with 1 coat of a glitter topper. That's how I normally would wear my glitter toppers. But yeah, I think this is just a better polish to do those like glitter placements. So you take like a toothpick and just individually place the glitters from the brush onto your nail. That probably would just look a lot better because I just wasn't loving how this turned out. And here is the collection lineup. So I will say I think they look cute. Like, I do like the colors that we see in the bottles, but as you saw with my swatches, I just feel like I didn't have a good experience actually putting these on. So yeah. So I only have bottle comparisons for these. So here is Paranormal Prom Queen next to XOXO Jelly from Cirque, which is their hot pink jelly polish. You can tell it's just a lot darker, almost like red leaning, but still very pink. And here is Final Girl next to Saffron Jelly. These two are a little bit closer. Final Girl is just a tiny bit warmer, but you can see Saffron Jelly just has a bit more opacity to it, which I wish we had gotten in these new jellies. And I feel like the same thing could be said about Ghoulfriend next to Lime Jelly. They are slightly off color-wise. Ghoulfriend is a little bit more chartreusey. Lime Jelly is more of a true lime green, but that one is also noticeably more opaque. Even though it is a jelly, it's just more buildable and crelly-like. And lastly, for BanShee Better Work, the closest that I had to it was Navy Jelly, which, as you can tell, is far from a dupe. Navy Jelly is just a lot dustier, deeper, almost like a denim blue, and BanShee Better Work looks very purple here, but it really is a true blurple. Depending on the lighting, it can look blue, so yeah, definitely no dupes. So that wraps up my swatches for Cirque's new Scream Queen collection. So as always, I would love to know what your thoughts are on these shades, because unfortunately I am just not that excited for them, and I saw a lot of people get excited over social media because they're new jellies and they're glow in the dark, but after working with them, I just was not really loving them. And I really wanted to like these more than I do. Like, I think the color palette is so cute. It just reminds me of Halloween candy or something, like sour gummy worms, and I think it just was a cute take on doing traditional like spooky Halloween shades, even though the orange and green are expected, but I still enjoyed the color story. I didn't think these matched their mood board though. I don't know if you follow their social media, but they posted their mood board and it just was not giving the same vibe, so that was a little weird for me, but I still like the idea. I just didn't love the execution of these. So before I get into the criticisms, which I kind of already shared, I do want to just preface this again by saying that I generally am a big fan of Cirque, and especially their jelly polishes, so I think that's a little extra unfortunate why I feel so let down by these, because these just didn't live up to the expectations that they already set for me, at least. And I do think these would have performed better if they had just more of a buildable coverage or something, because again, it's not the formula that I had an issue with, it was just the coverage. And for the 10th time, I know that jellies are supposed to be sheer, but these are just super sheer. So it could just be a preference thing. If you are somebody who does not like a lot of Cirque jellies because you find them to be a little too opaque, because some of them, I've mentioned this before, if you do like 2 or 3 coats on them, they do start to build up a lot where they almost have like a milky or crelly like formula. But these, like, no matter how many coats you do, you are always gonna see through to your nail line. And so they give you that really juicy, translucent look. So if you are a fan of that, then these are gonna be perfect for you. But if you were expecting these to perform like their other jellies, then you might be disappointed like I was. I definitely am curious to see how others feel about this collection and their coverage, because I just feel like it just wasn't giving enough for me. Like, for how sheer they are, I feel like I would need to do like more coats, which nobody has the time to do that, or to layer them over existing jelly shades, and then it kind of just defeats the purpose of these being tinted jellies in the first place, if that makes sense. I don't know. It's totally possible I'm just being like picky about these and it's just like not my preference or something, but I just wish that these gave more than they were giving. And as far as the glow-in-the-dark pigment that's in these shades, I'm just generally not a fan of this specific pigment that Cirque is using, because it gives that like speckled, almost fuzzy kind of look that I don't think really is even, and it's not as strong as other glow-in-the-dark pigments. Like, you might remember that Cirque released a glow-in-the-dark topper last year, and so did Holo Taco, and I ended up doing a comparison in the Holo Taco video of both of the glow-in-the-dark toppers, and the main difference was that Holo Taco was more of a milky kind of consistency, whereas had a much smoother and stronger glow. So I just was more of a fan of that kind of pigment, and I think these jellies, if they had that similar milky kind of consistency as the Holo Taco topper, they would have been a lot better, at least in my opinion. And lastly, I wanted to apologize for just not showing the comparisons on the nail, or even playing around with them more and showing different like layering options and how that affects their glow-in-the-dark color. Honestly, I just was really frustrated at the end of swatching these that I didn't want to go out of my way to try and convince myself or convince all of you that I thought these were good or worth it or something. And I'm trying not to be like mean or too negative with this review. Again, it's just, you know, my experience with this collection, and it just wasn't great. And that's coming from somebody who loves Cirque jellies. Like, I just did not love these. So take that however you will, with a grain of salt, whatever. It could be a batch issue. It could just be my personal preference. I know the main thing too that I would do differently is to wear like at least 2 coats of some kind of blurring base coat, and that probably would give me a little bit more of a better, smoother base for these jellies. But I don't know, overall, I just didn't love working with these. I feel like this could have been a better collection. Like, it was almost there, but just not quite. So yeah, that's my review. Sorry. Because I know a couple of people were pretty excited about these, and I just feel bad having to share that I'm not excited, especially on the launch day. But yeah, if you do want to see the comparisons on the nail or any kind of layering options, just let me know in the comments and I can get to work on that for you and share them in the shorts or my Instagram stories, or just let me know any and all thoughts that you have down below so we can chat about it. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.